They put me in a residential school when I was 6 years old. Forced me from my family and all I'd ever known. I cried out for my mama, but she could not hear me. I was 200 miles away in Chupanacadie. They tried to break my spirit, I wouldn't let them see me cry. They held my head underwater until I almost died. I can still hear screaming deep inside of me, and I will always bear the scars of Chupanacadie.
Both my parents went to residential school. They haven't told us much growing up. I just know that they hated priests and nuns. They told me that priests should never be trusted. And the same as nuns, they should never be trusted. And they never really told us they were in residential school. We never heard any stories or just knew the hate. When they came out of Shuby School, they had us right away. We were exposed to like alcoholism, family violence, everything. What they learned in there, I believe, was like violence and hate, abuse. They brought it home and they taught it to us. One day I was fed up with my parents drinking every day, day in, day out. Come home from lunch one day after being up all night, refereeing and crying, counting, so many mornings looking out the window after being up all night, watching the sun come up and still awake. I came home from school, lunchtime. My father's still drunk at the table, my mother standing there, and she hit me. She slapped my face so hard I could feel the sting for about a week. Out the door I went. I ran up the hill. I went to that spot where we all hung out. I grabbed a Tarzan rope and I wrapped it around my neck. I just stood there crying with that rope around my neck. And then finally I just took it off and I just walked down. And that afternoon I went to school and I went to the guidance counselor and I told her, help me out here before I kill myself. I was just starting to pop pills. I was sniffing. I was drinking, and I was smoking up, doing everything. If I didn't go counseling, I probably wouldn't have even finished a year. But I went into counseling and I wanted to get out of there. So that's what I did. I graduated from grade 9, went to high school. But when I got to high school, I would say I was already probably chronic alcoholic. 15 years old, grabbing the white girls and just pinning up against the wall, just, not really fighting, but just letting them know not to mess with me because, after all I've been through all my life. Finally, I sobered up because I started having kids, and I said, I'll be damned if I'm going to put my kids through what I've been through. So I sobered up. I started working at rehab. I was an attic worker. After that, I went and worked at a transition house. I found myself going into work where I could protect children and protect women. And then after I left transition house, I started working at Sony Mental Health as a female mental health worker. I worked with women who were abused and children. I ended up resigning from that job. I was out of work for about 8 months when I got this job. It was kind of like what I was looking for. It was like that missing piece. And then when I started going to workshops and conferences and then learning more about Shuby School and learning the dynamics of how we were raised, a lot of light bulb moments, oh my God, that's why. Oh my God, and that's why. It's like a lot of that for probably the first year. And then here I am. I'm a survivor of childhood sexual abuse. And that impacted me, how I raised my kids. You know what I mean? It's like, my kids weren't exposed to that. I knew, growing up at a young age even, that what was happening in our own family was wrong. And feeling it, though, later in life, like, especially when I had my own kids, it was like, geez, I'm going to turn this around. I have this baby, just loving this baby to death, you know, smelling it, kissing it, you know, playing with it, giving it everything I had, 100% right into this child, up until they were 12. Why 12? I don't know. Maybe 12 is the magic number, because that's when I stopped my abuse. It was like, okay, that's enough. No, you don't need any more affection. And another kid coming along, same thing, boom, 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 give them all the love and affection, right up until about 11 or 12, stopping. Not even even to help the boys take a shower. I mean, wash their back, or, you know, no, you're this age now, I don't want to. You should be doing that on your own. Just like a lot of boundaries I wouldn't even dare cross. Probably because there was no boundaries for me growing up. Nobody respected my boundaries. I probably didn't respect anybody's. But that was like I said, it's a learned behavior. Like, that's the only thing that's saving my mind from losing it. Is I just keep telling myself that's a learned behavior. My parents learned that from somebody. And they were raised by priests and nuns. They brought it home and they taught it to us.
First, we seen the survivors, and we thought we seen it all. But the descendants, I feel, carry more pain. I really don't like to measure the pain level, because pain is pain. But you have their parents or grandparents that have gone to residential school. And you have these descendants that don't understand why they think, feel, behave a certain way. It's really unfair for them to be born in that situation. And it's not any fault of their own parents. It's a system that they've been engaged in. So it's difficult for a child to be born in that, and that should be rage. Because rage is rage, but should be rage is something more.
I just stood there crying with that rope around my neck.
Trauma is something so powerful that it goes to the very core of where humans are held together. It goes to their animus, the Greek word for spirit. It goes to their soul, if you would. And when it does that, it shakes that soul. It shakes the spirit. It loosens its ability to hold and balance all those other parts. And when that happens, the parts can no longer stay healthy and they can't communicate with each other. The child who grows up in different circumstances, where maybe through no fault of their own, families are involved in their own survival. Families have their own needs and their own issues. The child is sort of just an afterthought, and no one's really noticing as that child goes through their needs. And so the child gets neglected. The child's needs are not important, so that if they start infringing on the needs of the adult, the child can even get punished for that and even abused, as we know.
We need to talk about the bad things. They need to know what happened to our parents and why it happened. It's not all their fault. We should talk to each other and see where we can put the positives, because we survived this too.